What's going on, y'all? So today we're going to be discussing two major attacks that have gone underreported or completely unreported by the mainstream media. These attacks occurred right here on US soil very recently, and there's largely been a media blackout on these topics. I'm going to play some clips, we're going to go over some articles, and be sure to stay tuned until the end of the video for some bonus footage that you just might find interesting. Before we get into the first clip, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, and if you're new to the channel, smash the subscribe button to support the channel and encourage more videos like this. With that being said, let's get into the first clip.
This is security footage from U.S. Customs and Border Protection of the moment a vehicle starts speeding from the American side of the border. You can see it there at the top of the screen. There it is. And this is just before it crashed and then exploded at a checkpoint. The identities of those individuals in the car have not yet been released. It's also still unclear if at this point as to whether or not the driver was intentionally heading for the bridge. The scene certainly left witnesses stunned.
Now, the media is downplaying this event. This occurred the day before Thanksgiving. Despite that, there has been very little reporting on this incident. Airports were closed as a result, as well as the driving border between New York and Canada. I actually, coming from DC, had plans on crossing that border for Thanksgiving, but after seeing this event, I decided to rethink my plans. The two people in the car were killed as a result of a fiery explosion coming after this accident. One Border Patrol agent was also injured in this, what could be an attack. It is largely known that the Canadian-US border is seen as a soft target for events just like this. And the FBI has even made a comment. Check this out. FBI Buffalo statement on investigation at the Rainbow Bridge. The FBI Buffalo field office is investigating a vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge, a border crossing between the US and Canada in Niagara Falls. The FBI is coordinating with our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners in this investigation. As the situation is very fluid, that's all we can say at this time. Now, the second event that we're going to discuss is an attack that occurred right here in Washington, D.C. on the Chinese embassy. Again, guys, it's amazing to me that these things have gone unreported by the mainstream media. But before we get into this article, I want to emphasize the fact that preparedness is a must. We have to understand that the government and the media will cooperate in order to downplay any type of attacks or any type of events which could jeopardize U.S. national security. They are trying to mitigate and minimize fear and panic. So we should expect them to downplay and underreport these events. However, you viewers, us as citizens, have to keep a conscious mind and prepare ourselves for worst case scenarios. I'm going to touch a little bit more on this situation as far as preparedness goes after we get into this news clip. Check out this article. Articles coming from the Washington Post. Headlines read, Florida lawyer held on charges he tried to blow up Chinese embassy walls. If you are watching, you can see here Exhibit E. We have we have a book bag, we have some charcoal, some explosive rocks that he was hoping to detonate. And we see some more plastic explosives in these containers. Federal authorities arrested a Florida lawyer this week on charges he fired bullets at an explosive device that was designed to damage or destroy a boundary wall on the grounds of the Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C., according to court files unsealed Wednesday in federal court. A Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, that's ATF, an ATF agent filed an arrest affidavit alleging that Christopher Rodriguez of Panama City, Florida, placed 15 pounds of an explosive mixture outside the compound in the 3500 block of International Place Northwest in the early morning hours of September 25th. Notice this happened back in September 25th, and we're just now hearing about it. The mainstream media is still silent. The article continues. In the affidavit filed in the U.S. District Court in D.C., authorities accused Rodriguez, whose age was not provided, of firing at least one high-velocity bullet at a book bag filled with explosive material about 12 feet from a wall and fence at the edge of the embassy compound along Van Ness Street Northwest. Now, if you've been following this channel, you know that I have actually lived in China for years, between 2018 to 2021. Even earlier this year, I was in China. So I go to China very often. I'm living here in DC now. I've actually been to the Chinese embassy on Van Ness. So the embassy which they attempted to blow up, I've been there multiple times. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to report on these two situations, because I found these two situations to be very significant. One, I go to Canada a lot. And two, I've lived in China and I've been to this Chinese embassy. So these things kind of affected me personally living here in DC. With that being said, we're going to start to wind down. And before I play you this bonus footage, I'd ask you to support the channel by hitting the thumbs up button. And if you've made it this far and you're not subscribed, smash the subscribe button for many videos just like this. Before I play the bonus footage, I would like to encourage you all to stay prepared. And when I talk about preparedness, there's some bare minimum. We're all on different levels as far as health-wise, as far as socioeconomically, what we're able to, save and store for a rainy day. I understand that. So I try to speak to the least of these. If you're above this, if you already have these things figured out, then hey, high five, thumbs up, you're on the right track. But if you've never thought about preparedness, if you've never thought about SHTF, shit hits the fan scenario, then these are some things that you might want to keep in mind. Number one, if we're living in some very turbulent times internationally, we have a lot of enemies, whether it be here in America, we have enemies in Iran, we have issues with Russia right now, we have tensions with China rising. If there was ever to be a major attack from any of these major parties on U.S. soil, the number one threat would be an EMP attack, meaning this is a grid down scenario. There is no electricity and it won't be coming up, not for a couple days, not for a couple weeks. We're talking about months to years. No electricity, cell phone towers down, plumbing down, your cell phone is gone. Your ATMs, you cannot get cash. You go to the grocery store, you try to swipe your card, you cannot. So in a situation like this, it would be very important to have things such as food. You would like to have some food stored up for yourself, at least a few weeks worth of food. In a worst case scenario, you have some food, you can see what everyone else is doing. Maybe I need to move to a secondary location, but you want at least 3 weeks. I'd say 3 weeks for the minimum. 3 weeks stored up in canned goods, pasta, rice, things that will preserve for a long time. So you want 3 weeks worth of food stored. You want cash, okay? Because in a grid down scenario, it might not be the very same day or the very next day that people start saying, hey, we can't take cash anymore. Cash is still going to have some value when you're going to stores, especially in the first couple days of the aftermath of a SHTF. Cash will still have value in those first couple hours, first couple of days. So have at least $1,000. At least, we're talking about minimum $1,000 cash. Hey, I need to get this. I need to get out of the city. I got $1,000 I can get out the city with. You need some cash. Okay, so you need some cash. You need some food. These are the bare minimum. And then you're thinking about shelter, things of that nature. Now, and if the grid goes down, wherever you're living should be fine, at least for a few days. But understand, in a grid down scenario, your plumbing is going to be backed up. So there, when you start getting into, long detailed planning, things can get a little bit more complicated. But at a minimum, have some water stored up, have some food stored up, and have about $1,000 minimum stored for an emergency situation. With that being said, if you've made it to the end of the video, hit the thumbs up button, smash the subscribe button, check out this bonus footage, and be sure to come on back for more videos just like this. Peace.
A high altitude EMP attack is the worst case scenario for this country. We will lose the national electric grid. The electricity in this country is not coming back on for 2 years. No food, no grocery stores, no banking, no radio, no TV, no internet, no heat, no AC, no septic systems functioning. Nothing works. Our own arrogance and our dependence on electricity and the loss of our life skills is what kills us. You can see from foreign countries war doctrines, this is first strike territory for World War III. There is zero plan at the United States government to deal with this kind of event. Russia is largely hardened against the EMP threat. China started a fast tracking program to harden their grid many years ago. They recognize that the future is EMP, that the future is cyber attacks on grids and infrastructure. I don't question for a second that they're going to hit that button and take us out.